Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to take a look at the Warhammer Day Preview that just finished like 5 minutes ago. Okay, so we're going to round it up. We're going to go through everything they revealed on the Warhammer Online Warhammer Day Preview stream. That's definitely the official title, that's how it works. And today we've got an extra step because we are going to take a drink. We're going to take a drink every time we see a box that's got 1 or 2 new models in it. We're going to take a drink every time we see a new starter box. We're going to take a drink every time we don't see a box that we thought we would see, and that is a direct reference to this tweet which I made earlier, which did not age well. Now, I will say that for this one, they've done it slightly differently. Before, they used to have one article that updated with all the stuff, which made sense as a kind of like a feed of information as the stream went on. Now it's all separate articles, so it's easier to pass out after the fact, which means there's a lot more messing about on my end, which really, who would even care about that anyway? Let's have a look. So first up, we've got Shadow Throne, and you can probably tell where one of the drinking games came from, because, I should probably, see, taking a drink. So, this one right here is a big, nice, big box, bit of big box action, as we are used to, as we are wanted to have now and again, and it's Custodies versus Genestealer Colts, and it's one of those ones where most of it is old stuff, most of it is stuff we've had for ages, but there are a couple of new models in there. They do these boxes a lot now. This is just the latest in a long line of them. So there are Genestealer Cult on Earth, like on Terra, on Earth, on Terra. They are there, like the cradle of humanity, which is obviously bad. How the hell did they even manage it? We don't know. Not yet, anyway. But fighting against them are the Custodies and the Sisters of Silence. And we have, of course, 2 new models therein. So leading the charge into the cult's lair is Aristothes Carvelen. That might not be how his name is pronounced. We don't know. We'll find out soon enough. And he's a Blade Champion, which is a new type of character, because they're getting a codex as well, funnily enough. Honestly, this is a decent looking model. I quite like it. Seeing the sword as opposed to a spear and a sword with no shield was a bit baffling at first, but then again, if you look at the sword, there's no bolter attached to it. So this is just the sword. Instead, he seems to have a gun on his belt instead. Slightly different approach for the Custodies. I mean, overall, this is a decent looking model for me. It looks pretty cool. I like the shoulder plates. I like the difference on the pauldrons. One's slightly more, like, I don't know, one's like bigger than the other by the look of it. And he's got a nice plume on the helmet. It's a cool helmet as well. I like that style of helmet for the Custodies. I can barely speak. This is going to go well for the rest of this, isn't it? Yeah, overall, this is pretty decent. I do like this. And for the Genestealer Colts, there is, it's the Cult of the Pauper Prince. And this is a Reductus Saboteur, who seeds the battlefield with explosives before the battle is joined. So basically, it plants mining charges all over the place, then when someone runs in, blows them up, murders them. Quite a good tactic, very suitable for the Genestealer Cults, of course, and I have to admit, I quite like this model. This is really nicely done. Then again, a lot of the Genestealer Cult stuff is very nicely done. It's overall a really, really solid range. And this is no different to the rest of them in terms of how solid it is. I like the different head options as well. You've got your normal one with the goggles, then you've got one that looks to be actually pretty heavily scarred on one side, which I quite like. I like that. It's a good looking model. The fact that there's like a remote like detonator in one hand and a plunger in the other, I do quite like that. That's a cool touch. Doubling up somewhat, but yeah, it's nice. It's good. So these 2 factions are both getting a new codex. The Sisters of Silence are back in the Adeptus Custodies like camp. Their rules are going to be in this codex. They are properly integrated as they should be. Games Workshop has finally remembered that the Sisters of Silence exist and are a thing and actually work very well with another faction. So it's nice to see that they're actually getting a little bit of attention. And apparently there is an HQ choice for them in this codex as well, like an actual just an HQ choice, not something that's attached to a Custodies character or anything like that. That by itself is quite nice, and they have said that you can make an entire army of just Sisters of Silence if you like. I don't know what that would look like, probably horribly ineffective and missing a bunch of things that would make it actually work properly, but it is apparently possible to do so. So you got that option if you really want it. And we also have the Codex Genestealer Colts, which by the way has got really good artwork. That's really solid art. I like that. That's a good looking codex cover. Looks a bit nightmarish in some ways, which I very much appreciate. I like that a lot. That, though, is pretty much it when it comes to the 40k stuff. And when I say pretty much it, I mean that is completely it. That's your lot for the 40k stuff. There is going to be nothing else. So, a bit light on things in that respect. But then again, Games Workshop has multiple systems. It's not like Warhammer 40,000 is the only thing they make. It might be the most popular, but it's not the only thing they make. There are plenty of other things that they do as well. And I'd say in this specific instance, there's like a lot of small things for loads of systems, as opposed to like one or two systems getting like the limelight, getting absolutely everything. This felt more like, here's a bunch of different games, and here's a little thing for each game. Which, to be honest, is probably the most balanced way of doing it. But of course, if you're only interested in one of those systems, then it being balanced is of no use to you. So, yeah. We'll move on to the Age of Sigmar stuff. In fact, no, you know what? We're not going to move on to the Age of Sigmar stuff, because there is something 40k adjacent that we can look at first. Because, frankly, finally, we have the last Primarch. There he is. The Khan. Look at him. Look at that. Look at the lad. That is a quality model, alright? I really like that. I think they've done a great job. No bike, but to be honest, I would have been very surprised if there was one. He looks absolutely solid. There's so much detail going on here. There is so much detail. The armour is really nicely ornamented. The pose is quite nice. The sword looks really cool. I like the cloak. The cloak is very fancy, but not like covered in like embroidery or anything. It just looks like a nice, fancy, not too over-the-top cloak. I really like the pauldrons on his armour as well. Those look great. I mean, there's no part of this model I don't like. There's no part of this model I don't like. The base looks pretty cool as well. The fact that there's a dead Death Guard on there is nice. Nice little indication of a bit of a grudge match there. Yeah. Overall, he looks really, really good. He looks really good. I dare say that he's kind of up there with some of the best of them for me personally. I think they've nailed the pose. They've nailed the overall feel of the character. The head is one of the better ones that they've sculpted for the Primarchs, it has to be said. That to me is a properly solid effort. There's also not much in the way of like conflicting motion going on. Sometimes with some of the Horus Heresy stuff, there's the occasional thing of things flapping about in weird ways that you kind of wonder where the source of the motion is coming from. There doesn't really seem to be any of that for him, which is really nice to see. Yeah, I really like him. I think he looks great. The kind of additional details and stuff, the detailing on the power pack and on the gloves as well is a really nice touch. The fact the Death Guard has got intestines spilling out of him, it's harsh, but it's fair, let's be honest. Even the gun holster looks nice. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with this model. I will say that it is quite busy, due to the fact you've got the power armour and then you've got the, I forget the name of it, I can't remember what it's called, the kind of like the layered armour over the top of it. There is quite a bit going on, and there is quite a bit in the way of like fancy filigree and stuff. There's repeated patterns a lot across quite a lot of it, but I don't actually think it's too bad on the eyes. I don't think it like overwhelms. And to be honest, the Primarchs all look pretty fancy. They all look fairly kind of overly detailed in some way or another. Maybe with a couple of exceptions, but like there's a few that have got a lot going on. I would suggest that this isn't like, it's no more kind of overly busy than any of the others. And it comes together into a nice cohesive whole. So that's the important bit, right? Now the reveal of the Khan does mean that my prediction on Twitter did not come to pass, because I said, are you ready for them to close the stream out with that Horus Heresy box that we saw leaked ages ago? There's pictures of it, and it's just never come up since. Maybe it's not real. Maybe it's not a real thing. Maybe it was just a weird, I don't know, insane Photoshop job. I don't know, but they didn't mention it, and so we got a drink. You know what though? The Khan does look solid. Not quite as good for getting new people into the Horus Heresy. Not quite as good in terms of presenting a nice, simple, kind of good value way of introducing newer players to the game, but he's been the only Primarch that's been missing. The last one to be released, we finally have every single Primarch, which is kind of important for the setting, I feel, and so him being shown off, I'm not going to complain about that. Now, we're jumping around a fair bit here. We're not going in order of what was revealed. Instead, we're just going in order of things that are cool and fun. So, with that being said, this is the stuff for Warcry, because, there's a new box for Warcry, so Red Harvest. Yet another new box for Warcry. Feels like Warcry's got a good number of boxes over the years. Significantly more than a lot of the other, specialist games. But, you know what, I'm okay with it, because generally speaking, Warcry is one of the most solid lines that Games Workshop have. In terms of the warbands, in terms of the scenery, all of that, it's pretty much gold from start to finish, right? And this box looks to be pretty damn good. So, we've got the Tarantulas Brood, who are the spider people, and they are creepy and weird, as you might expect. I mean, they really are creepy. They really are, properly unsettling, in a good way. The weapons are perhaps a little bit over the top, perhaps a little over the top, a little bit excessive, maybe a bit too spiky in some places, but overall, the aesthetic is pretty good. I like the kind of symmetry of them all having these, not all of them, but a lot of them having these kind of spider leg things coming out of the hoods. They've got the spider face masks on. They're just unsettling and awful, which, I don't know, that's very much my thing. I like that. Although saying it like that kind of suggests that I'm unsettling and awful, which I'm not necessarily going to argue with, but it would be nice if that wasn't the case. I do like this one. She's got this, this weird spider leg whip. That's cool. That's a cool detail on that model. Also, the ones that have got the kind of webbing instead of the spider leg sticking out the back of the head kind of differentiates between them, but it's still the same sort of style, the same sort of motif, which I really, really like. This is a good warband. This is a really good warband. Just overall, a bit mad, a bit off the wall, a bit creepy, and Warcry is really good for that. A lot of the stuff in Warcry, you just look at it and are like, whose idea was this, and why do I like it so much? And this pretty much fulfills that brief quite nicely, I reckon. Facing off against them in the box is this lot, which are the Dark Oath Savages. Now, the Dark Oath Savages, I mean, it's just Conan the Barbarian again. It's not the most unique looking warband, because there is already a warband that looks relatively similar to this. I forget what they're called. They're not the Iron Golems. I forget the name of them, but there's another warband that is not too far away from this. Also, this dude with the black hair is just flat out Conan the Barbarian, pretty much. But this is a really solid warband as well. It's not as weird as I like my warbands for Warcry, but in terms of just overall look, in terms of overall feel, can't really argue with these guys. They are muscle-bound, leather and fur-clad barbarians. That's pretty much all they've got going, but they've committed to it super hard. And it works a treat. It looks good. There's lots of nice little details across the models. The swords actually look relatively, the weapons look relatively functional, especially compared to the Tarantula's Brood, which is a nice change of pace. And there's some absolutely beefy looking women in this warband that, I don't know, I just think they've been done really, really well. She's creepy as anything as well. She's got no eyes, but she's holding up some big lad's eye instead, and her hands all black from, yeah, that's disturbing. That's not nice. The fact that she's got horns, but the horns are attached to a skull cap, that's a cool touch. I like that a lot. What a freak, though. That one with the axe, the woman with the axe there, quality sculpt. Quality sculpt. Absolutely murder you dead within a second, with or without the axe. Amazing. There's also a load of really good terrain in this as well. I have to admit, I really like the terrain for this. It gives me very Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Gives me a lot of that sort of feel to it, where Saruman's digging out all the earth, and there's a bunch of mechanisms and walkways and platforms and stuff around the tower itself, and yeah, it kind of has that sort of feel to me, which I really like, because I really like the look of all that stuff. It's kind of nice. So essentially, this is basically a chaos mine where they're mining Varan ore or something, and if you touch it, it might go bad wrong, and you might turn into a spawn. Not the best mine to work down, funnily enough. But yeah, I like the way they've done this. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. It looks to be a decent box. I have to say, I am way more excited about the idea of this box than the like Custodies versus Genestealer Colts one, like Shadow, whatever it's called. I immediately forgot the name of it. That's how little I'm bothered about the box itself, Shadow Throne. So I'm just not bothered about Shadow Throne as a box. The new sculpts in there look cool, but you know, as a thing to buy, I'm not going to be going for that one. I have to admit though, this one, Red Harvest, this looks kind of good. This looks kind of good to me. I do like pretty much everything in there. So yeah, not bad. Not a bad showing for Warcry, not at all, no. In surprising news, Dungeon Bowl's back. What the... Okay, maybe that should have been an extra thing on the list for having a drink. If you're expecting them to just resurrect some random game from 1994? I think it was 4. I mean, it was kind of before my time of getting into the hobby, to be honest, but like, I'm pretty sure, because I did a quick Google when they revealed this, that Dungeon Bowl was like... I think the last official rulebook it had was 1994, because I think that was the 3rd edition rulebook. But I believe it also had rules in White Dwarf in 1998. Either way, we're talking a solid 20-year gap where this just hasn't been a thing. It's not been officially supported. They've not talked about it. They've not done anything with it. So, I mean, a drink for bringing random-ass games back that no one's thought about for like a decade? Why? It's so random. Like... If people want it and people enjoy it, and I've seen people already get excited about it, that's great. I'm not saying don't do it. But I did just sit there and go, what? Why? What? Who was sitting there and went, you know what? We really need Dungeon Bowl back. Because a good number of people probably sat there and went, what the hell is Dungeon Bowl? What is this? What are you doing? I mean, if this can come back, Battlefleet Gothic, surely there's no excuse. If you can bring Dungeon Bowl back, you can bring Battlefleet Gothic back. I want to see it. Preferably now. Immediately. Just do a surprise extra stream. Just do that. That would be nice. They're not going to do that. So, essentially, Dungeon Bowl, if you are not familiar, and I know the demographics of this channel, I know the kind of average age of the audience and all of that stuff, there's a good chance that quite a lot of you won't have been born when this stopped being a supported thing that Games Workshop did. So... Dungeon Bowl is Blood Bowl played in cavernous, winding dungeons arranged by the 8 colleges of magic. The wizards put mixed teams together for their own amusement and make the rules and magical traps as chaotic as possible for maximum carnage. So what you do is you start out in an underground dungeon and you need to find the ball in a chest, and then once you've found the ball, you need 1 touchdown to win the game. That's it. And the teams are mixed, so like the wizards pick the teams. And they chuck challenges and traps in there, and it's really bizarre. It's really random. So here's the 2 teams that are in the box, and as you can see, we've got some Skaven. We've got what looks like some dark elves as well, and then on the other side of things, we have got some ogres and some dwarves and some gobbos. As you do, you know, perfectly sensible combination of players there. Yeah. So that's what you're gonna get in the box. It's so weird. It's just so random. I just don't understand. Like, again, if you're excited about it, I'm happy that you're getting something you're excited about, right? I'm not going to tell you not to be excited for something that you want to be excited for. That would be a really crap thing to do. But it just strikes me as such a random thing to suddenly come out and just go, remember Dungeon Bowl? It's coming back. Because so many people probably don't remember Dungeon Bowl. And also Dungeon Bowl, just in itself, is kind of random and weird to begin with. But, I mean, it's going to be here. It's a thing. It's a thing that's going to exist. So, yeah. Why? Oh, dear. Anyway, what else do we have? Well, we've got another warband for Underworlds, of course. We always have to have another warband for Underworlds for this stuff. So, this one is a little bit different. This one is kind of interesting. People were suggesting that perhaps we might see vampirates. We might see a bit of the old Total War Warhammer deal, and we might end up getting a bit of undead pirate action. But no, we've got this guy instead. We've got this guy instead. So this is Black Powder's Buccaneers, and it's this lad, Black Powder himself, a monkey with a knife clutched in his tail, a little gobbo with an anchor and a rope, a parrot called Screech, and another gobbo with a peg leg and a shank. So, again, kind of, the warbands for Underworlds feel like they're getting progressively more bizarre as they go on. I have to admit, I'm kind of here for it. I kind of like it, to be honest. The monkey with a knife is an excellent addition to any miniatures collection. Is it as good as the crab from Days Gone By? I don't know. It might be. It might just be a personal choice thing. I mean, I quite like the monkey. He does have a knife. He's also called Mange. Now, I want to stress that he's called Mange, or at least I assume he's called Mange. Now, mange is a thing that animals get, like the fur or the hair, whatever, gets all patchy and nasty, and you have to treat it to cure it. So mange, not a good thing. And I'm sure the monkey's name is Mange, because on the stream, Adam pronounced it as mange. And I do not believe the parrot's called Shriek, right? The parrot is called Shriek. There is no way the monkey is called Mange. I'm not having that. It's Mange. We're calling him Mange. If it is Mange, then we're still calling him Mange, because I am not calling it Mange. That sounds terrible. That just sounds outright rude. His name's Mange. Anyway, of this lot, the monkey with the knife is obviously the best, but this guy is also pretty cool. He's got a Caradron Overlord gun, by the looks of things, a big old blunderbuss, which apparently gets like stronger as he goes. That's like that kind of cutlass scimitar thing, if you can even describe it as that. It's pretty much just a big plank of metal that's been given an edge and had stuff nailed to it. Is really solid. I do like it a lot. The bits woven into the beard, giving that kind of black beard look, I do like that. That's a nice little nod there. Overall, a solid warband, I think. Pretty damn good. Pretty good. Silly, but good. So, I mean, this is there's been so many of the Underworld's warbands over, I was going to say over the years. I suppose it is over the years, but God, there's been a lot. There's been some solid... I mean, I feel like the hit rate on these is really high. Like, really high. They've done some really solid work for Underworlds. A lot of the warbands are really nicely done. Just pretty good work all round. I do like that. That is good. And pretty much finally, we've got a new Maggotkin model. So, I didn't realise it was this bad, right? I didn't realise it had been this bad. If you are a Maggotkin of Nurgle player, you have my sympathies, because you've been without a new battle tome for 3 years, they said. 3 years! Like, that's bad. That's pretty bad. 3 years is a long time to go, especially when other codexes have come out. Battle tomes. Especially when other battle tomes have come out, and then they've been replaced within, like, a year, 6 months or something. There was like two... Wasn't there like 2 Lumineth Realm Lords battle tomes in the space of a few months? Even was it like 6 months or something? Because they had the box come out with the initial wave of models, and there was a battle tome with that, and then they had more models come out, and then there was another battle tome that was updated to also include those models. In the meantime, you poor sods with your Maggotkin of Nurgle, nothing for 3 years. I mean, that's just kind of trash, isn't it? That's not on. You can't be doing that. But you do get a new battle tome. It is on the way. You will have it soon. You're finally getting the love you deserve. And you're also getting this lad as well, which I don't know whether to say you deserve this or not. So it's Sorcerer, an amalgam of human and fly. I mean, you can't really argue with that. That's exactly what it is. And you know what? I think it's a pretty cool model overall. I think it's a pretty solid model. It looks decent. I prefer, actually, the human head to the fly head. I think that looks better to me. I think that looks just that little bit more creepy and unnerving. As soon as you end up giving it the actual fly head, I think it makes it a bit more cartoony and a bit less horrifying. But the hood covering everything but the mouth, which seems to just be open and screaming, I'm all about it. I think that looks really good. The parchments off the belt there look really nice. The little bells dangling down. Candles were a nice touch. I'm a sucker for a candle on a model, and they've done those pretty well. I do like it. I do like that lad. It's a solid lad, and yeah, you're finally getting some love. After all these years, you're finally getting the battle tome that you so much need and deserve. And that is pretty much your lot. I'd say there's some cool reveals in there. There was a fair amount overall. Of course, it was all very spread out stuff. It was not condensed into one system or the other. It was very much a case of here's a little bit of something for everybody, which I mean is good for is good for the customers as a whole, I guess, but I also fully expect there'll be a lot of people disappointed because no particular system got like a shed load of stuff. I mean, outside of maybe, that's not fair. I'd say maybe Warcry did the best out of it in terms of just shinies being shown off, because it's a new box that is completely full of new stuff, whereas, of course, I mean, Underworlds did get a new warband, but it's not of the same magnitude as like 2 full Warcry warbands and a whole load of new scenery and a box that contains all of that new stuff, especially if you compare it with the kind of model for the 40k stuff, which is a box with a bunch of old stuff with 2 new things in it, which is what we got for that. On the other hand, I don't know, the kind of lore impact of Genestealer Colts being on Terra and fighting the Custodies, I mean, that's kind of cool. It'd be interesting to see where that goes and whether they do anything with it. I suspect they probably won't, will they? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Could be something amazing. We don't know. Maybe it's too harsh to judge before we've seen it. Anyway, what in there did you find the most interesting? Anything you're really looking forward to? Anything that you wish was revealed? Oh, also the red gobbo on the Christmas squig was also teased. That was a thing that was teased right at the end. So that's going to be the Christmas model for this year. Maybe that's the thing that you're most excited about. In fact, yeah, maybe that'll be the thing. Maybe that's the thing everyone's excited about, the Christmas gobbo. I mean, that would be kind of... I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised. What else was... Oh, yesterday they revealed that there were candles as well. Scented candles. Warhammer-themed scented candles. I don't know either. I've got no idea why that's a thing. Who knows? But we might do a bit of crowdfunding, see if we can afford all of them, and then do a smell test. Or a taste test. For an extra money, I will taste test the candles. Because that would be a stupid idea. I shouldn't have suggested that. I might edit that out. Anyway, what did you find the most fun or interesting out of all the reveals? Let me know in the comments down below. Anything you're particularly looking forward to, or anything that actually you decided that you were excited about, but having seen it, now not so much. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel. If you would like, I'll leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. I should really re-record that outro, because I just started stumbling over my words, but I think it's funny if I leave it, so whatever.